On today's episode, or like people up there, they don't bang out Bach on some organ. And
I was just the next option.
their response is that's the last instrument they'd like to hear. They say it makes a dreadful sound.
Oh, I agree. There wasn't enough buttons on the bass, 120 bass accordion? Nah, they don't do that anymore because you're best not to approach me with a statement like that or to tell me something like that because you're really not going to like what I have to say back.
From the Basilica in Guelph, Ontario, this is From the Tower. I'm Bruce Taylor, the organ scholar here at the Basilica, or as most people know, I'm the #1 organist. But today we're going to interview #3 organist, the organist and choir master, Joe Carere. So let's get started. Welcome, Joe.
Well, thanks, Bruce, for having me on my own show. I really appreciate that.
Well, it's your show, but I mean, it's our interview today.
That's true. You're driving the bus today.
All right, so question 1.
Alrighty.
I'm out on the streets sometimes in Guelph. I like to interview people. I mean real people, not people like you. Or, like people up there, they don't bang out Bach on some organ. And they're not like the choir here. I think they actually like to sing in Greek. So they're not like that. But when I ask them about the pipe organ, their response is that's the last instrument they'd like to hear. They say it makes a dreadful sound.
Oh, I agree.
You agree?
I agree 100% with that.
Oh.
To a certain point, though, any organ can be made to sound dreadful, terrible. Mm-hmm. But if you learn your craft well, you can certainly make it sound very good. And I don't care what organ it is. It could be the smallest little parlor unit organ up to the biggest Wanamaker, Atlantic City. It doesn't matter. If you take the time to study that organ, learn that organ, and go through all the sounds, you'll definitely be able to find a little gem or many gems of what that organ can do.
Okay.
So, but on the other hand, dreadful, that could be part of the job. Like you have to think sometimes. You never have your weekends free.
No.
Anymore.
No.
You're always here on holidays, special holidays like Christmas and Easter and things like that. So what's the attraction? What's the draw? I'd say it's a little bit of a higher calling.
Okay.
That would make you want to, because it's very hard. It's one thing for priests, right? Because they're doing their thing and this is what they do. But as a family person or somebody who's got, significant others, that's really hard on the relationship when you're gone all weekend to do your job and then you're, have a couple of days off through the week, but they're working a typical Monday to Friday. Right. So that's the difficult part. But if you can make it work with that higher calling, then I think it's a good job.
Okay.
It's a good calling to do. Dreadful instrument? Yeah.
All right. Well then, so they're partly right.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, I mean, there was 2 other people that I interviewed, and I didn't respond, but one of them, they said that, when I explained the shoes we wear, they said, that looks like a grandmother's shoes. And I said, it helps you play the pedals. And they looked at me like I was a cross-dresser. And, that's not true. They don't look, sure they look a little like granny shoes, but I mean, they work. And then the other person that I talked to, they said that, anybody who plays a musical instrument with their hands and their feet at the same time should be analyzed.
Analyzed because we're brilliant.
Oh, I didn't say that in response.
Ah, you see.
All right, I'll find that.
You got to kick up your Johnny Walters CKCO little shtick a little more there.
Yes.
But you're right. The shoes, we do wear special shoes, as you know, because you play.
Right.
And as you'll see on the screen, the pictures of different shoes that we wear for the organ, very soft soles,
Right.
and higher heels, so that we can the heel toe
Right.
technique kind of thing in there. So yeah, it can look, and you know, there's some people, they dress them up really good, like Diane Bish or Virgil Fox used to have rhinestones, and
true.
I think we've all had a pair that we've dressed up now and again. I might have a pair with some rhinestones around here somewhere.
Really?
But, yeah, that was back in my rebellious days, but anyhow, yeah, it's a different time.
I mean, and then there's Julian, the suborganist. He plays in his Buffalo Bill socks.
Shameful.
No class.
Any socks but Buffalo Bills.
Oh my goodness.
Or Toronto Maple Leafs.
No.
And you know, when he forgets his shoes at home or something like that, he just plays in his stocking feet. And I'm like, wow.
I know.
You know, it's the younger generation though, right?
It doesn't look good though.
Especially with Buffalo Bills.
Yeah. I know, yeah. We got class here.
Well, we try.
We try. Okay. Well, everybody wants to know, how did you get started? When did you first hear the sound of an organ and fall in love with it? And like, you must have heard other instruments like the bagpipes or the tuba.
The accordion.
The accordion.
Back when I was growing up, the accordion was a big instrument, actually.
That's true.
And, but I just thought there wasn't enough buttons on the bass. 120 bass accordion?
Really?
No, we want all these knobs and keys and pedals and all that.
3,000 pipes.
I know. Well, 2,950.
Okay, a little exaggeration.
Yeah, you just took it to the next level. But anyhow, I got started, I was young. I was about 4 or 5. My parents bringing me to church. Yeah. Back in the days when parents did bring their kids to church. And
Right.
all I could hear was this big booming instrument, or the sound from the back of the church. And I turned around, like, oh my gosh.
Wow.
You know, these big gold pipes, and
Right.
John Marin was the organist, and this big booming voice. He sing. He was just something else. And that drew me right in, right away. Okay. I mean, I was sold.
All right.
That was it. I had to do it. So then my parents got this little Magnus air-powered organ.
Wow.
Chord organ thing from Consumers Distributing, when you had to fill out the slip and give it.
$50 likely.
It was about, exactly. And I played that until it died. And then we stepped up, and then I got a Hammond organ, a proper type organ.
Wow.
And then I started with the lessons. So I was about 5 or 6 when I started with the lessons. And then one day I had the nerve to come up and ask John if I could try the organ at one point. So what he did is he gave me a Jubilee hymn book, told me to go and learn, "O Lord, I am not worthy," and come back and play it. And I certainly did. He pulled on that stop diapason, and I thought that was just the greatest thing in the world. Right. You know, so, and I could barely hit the pedals at the time, but I did. I played it, and then the rest is history there. You know, and then I started filling in more and more, because he was getting up in age, and he was some Sundays where he wasn't too well. So I was a little older at the time then, moving on, and I was an altar server here. And then some Sunday, if John couldn't make it in, Monsignor would be like, "Can you go up and do it?" I'd be like, "Yeah," and away I went. And that's.
I get it now, like, because you told me, like, why don't you come up sometime and see if you can pick up something by osmosis.
I wasn't expecting that you'd take me up on the offer, but here we are. And
I looked up osmosis, and that has to do with flowers and things. But anyway,
you can suck in a lot of information just by watching, observing, experiencing the whole thing.
Wow.
I know it nowadays. Like the world of the internet is wonderful. You go into YouTube, and you can watch so many different performances, so many different people. You can learn so much just from that, almost, as well as regular practice as well, because you can listen to a piece done by 50 different artists and catch the gist of what they're trying to do, and then just make it your own. Okay. Don't copy, but just make it your own from there. But it gives you certain juices that flow to get the creative aspect moving.
Right.
And I find that a great learning tool.
Okay, well, I'll do more of that.
You got to get on you should get internet at your house, maybe.
Well, I know, like, you're the tech man, but I
start with a landline phone.
I'm 73.
I know.
And tech doesn't come easy to me, so I'll do my best.
Hopefully they'll get electricity out to your neighborhood soon, and then you
out
can
in Arkle there, we're sort of.
I know, old order Mennonite type thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Pay a lot of taxes though.
But drive a Mercedes. I know, I get it. Yeah.
That's an old Mercedes, Joe. All right. Now, the other thing that people are curious about, and they've heard stories that you used to play for your of all the graduations, including your own high school graduation.
That's a funny story, actually. It was my high school graduation, and John Marin, I can't remember if it was his brother or his brother-in-law, had passed away, and he had to be away. So I played my graduation.
You were some kind of prodigy, were you?
Not at all. I was just the next option.
Next option. You're very humble.
So I came up and played, and then I was done. I went down, sat with my class, and then at the end, when it was over, I came back up and played, and they all left out. So
So what were you, about 10?
No, probably around 17 or 18 there.
Oh, you weren't a genius at school.
No.
I thought prodigy and genius went together.
Truth be told, I could have probably went to grade 17 or something like that. I wasn't really big on math and things like that.
I knew basketball players like that in Bishop Mac. They seemed to take about 10 years to get through high school.
Well, they many victory laps is what they would say.
Yeah, victory laps.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I know when I've heard you play at graduation, you play this piece that just goes over and over and never ends. What's it called?
Pomp and Circumstance.
Oh my goodness.
Well, we got 300 grads coming in, and
gives me a headache.
well, I know.
Anyway. All right. So now you've been around here for what? 5 years or how long?
Maybe a little more than that.
How long?
I'm entering into my 37th year playing for the diocese.
The diocese.
Yeah.
All over.
Yeah.
But how many years here at the Basilica?
I started full time in 2008, and then I was kind of filling in before that because I was at St. Mary's in Elora.
Okay, so
full time there.
Over 15 years here.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Well, you must have experienced some pretty crazy things. Like I know Betty. She's the vestment and the binder coordinator. She just loves when the firefighters come.
We've had the firefighters here before, that's for sure. You just ask Father Carlos about that one.
Why would they be here?
Well, one time we used a little too much incense, and the very sensitive smoke detectors here, which is a good thing, by the way. I'm going to disclaimer there. Very good that we have a good fire system here.
That's true.
But one time we used a little, well, maybe 2 times. Might have been 3. But we used a little too much, and and everybody knows that this alarm is enough to wake the dead.
Yes.
You definitely hear it, and the firefighters do show up, as they do. Very, very good service that they provide, and they're very prompt about it. And sorry, Betty, but they don't look like on the calendar when they show up here. But anyhow.
Yeah, I've heard that.
So Father Ian has actually learned a very fine line to ride there. Yeah. Just enough incense to get away with it, but not too much to set off the... For my taste, it's not enough incense, but
no, I love incense too.
He's very good at that fine line of not setting those alarms off. So he's got it figured out.
He's the best.
He is the best, actually. He's very good at liturgy.
Oh yes, no. Well, a question that we would have to ask any organist at a church is, what are your goals here?
My goals here are to continue to push the choir. Okay. To learn to continue to learn difficult pieces. Mm-hmm. Now there's 2 sides to that as well, because you can go too far, and we've been there before where we've had to just throttle it down a bit, and because we put a little too much on the plate, and you have to go along with, like, because for a volunteer choir, there's no paid leads in this choir or anything like that. So, sickness does go around, and there's, people do take holidays and things like that. So you might prepare in your mind something that is going to, oh yeah, great, but then you've got too many of one section away. So you always have to have plan B.
Okay.
If plan A doesn't work out, you have to have a plan B. But my goal is to continue to push, and things like the Perry, the Stanford, Magnificat, things like that, Elgar, Latin.
Latin?
That's part of that Greek thing that we're, that's.
I can't speak because I actually sang the wrong hymn once. All 4 verses. You were playing so loud.
I'm not. That's another thing. I used to get people all the time when I was like, just kind of like new. They come up and you play too loud and stuff like that. And then they got to know what I was like, and they don't do that anymore, because you're best not to approach me with a statement like that, or to tell me something like that, because you're really not going to like what I have to say back. So that's kind of cooled down in the last.
That's good.
I used to just give the standard answer. You want Mickey Mouse, go to Disneyland, but I'm not. because I used to get in trouble for playing too soft when I was filling in the Protestant church. I'd be like, well, it's got to be,
Good for
happy
our
medium
viewers
here.
to know all this. Like, don't come up to you and say you're playing too loud.
No, because you won't like it. You,
All right.
the rest of your day won't be very good.
That's a
so,
warning, everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Bruce. Public service announcement right
Public
there.
service announcement, that's
Yeah.
true. All right, well, this is a problem.
Uh-oh.
It's my brother.
Oh,
Yeah, it's my brother.
heard about your brother.
Yes, he loves Johnny Cash. Well, he sits on his pontoon boat up on some lake way up north, like not in Greenland, but, up north.
Like in Bellwood?
No, he goes way up. I don't even know where he goes. He's way up there by James Bay.
Oh, wow, okay.
Oh, all right. So he's got this pontoon boat, and he bangs out Johnny Cash tunes. Cottagers, they're going nuts. He should be arrested. But anyway, the point is like, I played this Gregorian chant. Like, you gave it to me. It's a Gregorian chant from 1264. Like, that's almost 100 years ago, or maybe more.
Maybe 761 years, maybe?
All right, well, I didn't major in math. So the point is that it was composed by Saint Aquarius, and I just don't see my brother coming to hear that.
Saint Aquarius might be Saint Aquinas' brother, in a different, twice removed from a different family or something like that.
I did go to seminary, but Saint Aquinas, oh yeah, that's right. You're right, Joe.
Thomas Aquinas.
Yeah.
But, so, his problem is he likes that, but he doesn't understand our music.
Right.
Well, here's the simple short answer, because I could make it long, but I'm going to make it short.
Good.
Because we got choir later.
That's right. We got only so many minutes here.
That's right, because the next program will be coming on and you guys will be watching.
We have more important things to do.
Well, yeah. So I'm going to say that for your brother, there might come a time in his life where he just feels that the world might be ganging up on him or something like that, and you might need that little bit of escape.
All right.
So I found actually a lot of people that would just wander into the church. You don't have to be Catholic. You come in here, you just come in and sit and listen and be a part of it. But for an hour a week, you might come in and you might get some good spoken word,
right?
Nice homily or something like that, some nice music,
yeah.
And then you charge yourself up and then you leave. You don't necessarily have to understand the music,
no,
but to just be immersed in it.
Right.
To feel it, the powerful organ, you're feeling it, the choir singing, making wonderful harmonies, the priest is giving it a delightful message.
Right.
And you see it, you're with a church full of people.
Okay.
You feel like you're part of something.
Yes.
And I've seen a lot of people that are just like, I've been lacking, but this is kind of a thing that fills my weekend.
Right.
And it makes me feel good, and I come back to get charged up. And I've seen that, Catholics, non-Catholics, it doesn't matter, people that are just looking for the experience of, get me out of this crazy world, because the whole world seems to be on fire these days, right? So
that's right.
It's a nice little escape to get some positive uplifting your life, and maybe hopefully to carry you through for the week, and maybe bring you back next week.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll tell them that.
Tell them to give it a try. If the Johnny Cash gets old, you might just want to
all
try.
All that heartbreak, it's just, too dark.
All it is his pickup truck broke down and the dog died and all that. You know how those songs go.
I know.
Right?
And I like how you say the spoken word, like Father Ian the other Sunday. He said, we worship Christ and we honor Mary.
That's right.
I'm like, bingo.
That's right. In
Bingo.
the Catholic Church, Mary is right up there. Well, the name of the church.
Yeah.
Basilica of Our Lady Immaculate, right? I mean,
he just summed it up.
We are so fortunate in this place that we have good preachers. All the priests here and the deacons, they just preach really well. We're so fortunate that they can get their word across to us, and they do it so eloquently, and we're very fortunate. Some other priests have a harder time with that, but we're very fortunate here.
I do have a problem with Father Ian, though.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I know. He doesn't watch this, does he?
He might.
Oh, my goodness. Well, Father Ian, I'll say this nicely. When I was in seminary, and I did children's stories, like you do, I used puppets. And I used other objects. I used anything. And I never see you use any puppets. And like, I've heard you have a cat. Like a cat knows how to live life better than we do.
Bridget the cat, she's awesome. She's the mascot over there.
Why doesn't he bring him?
She's the queen.
Bring him over.
No, she's too busy over there. Can you imagine? Well, she catch a lot of mice over here, actually, that run around.
Exactly. That would be a bonus.
But I think that downstairs at the children's liturgy, which we have, this seems to be very successful here, they might be using visual aids down there.
Oh, I see.
He doesn't get time up here. We got to celebrate Mass, right? He just gives the kids a nice little greeting at the beginning, gives them a blessing, and off they go. And I'm pretty sure that downstairs at the children's liturgy, they're all full of visual aids down there.
He does bless pets, though, doesn't he?
He will bless your pets. He has a Sunday that he'll announce it. Bring your pet by. He'll bless. No snakes. He doesn't do the snakes. Maybe from a distance, maybe, but he'll bless your car. He'll bless your pets. He's very generous with his time when it comes to that.
Would he bless an imaginary pet?
No, he may give you an exorcism for that, but I mean...
I use that when I drive through Tim's, and you get a free Timbit.
You get the free Timbit. I'd expect that from you.
But I just tell him I have an imaginary dog.
That's your generation doing that. Well, that's probably why you drive a Mercedes, because you get the free Timbits.
It doesn't have anything to do with my Mercedes. It's just like they look at me like, not everybody says that, and to get me to get out of the lane, they give me a Timbit.
It's you and that child suborganist that's got that brand new Audi that I see. He's got
dark windows. Yeah, that
he's a hot shot now, right? He's all done school, so.
Well, he's a graduate, what is he, 20?
12?
Oh, he's about 12,
yeah.
All right, now here's a question that only you can answer. How important do you think music is to the church? And would you agree that my preludes that I play are the most important part?
Your prelude should have the most applause of anything, to be honest with you. But,
I know.
But since they're at the beginning, we don't do the applause at the beginning.
Well, I don't know. That should change.
Well, here's the structure that we have set up here, I think, is just very good.
Okay.
Where you do mostly all the preludes, and you do some of the service playing in the middle too.
A little.
But we get them into the state of grace. We get the parishioners into the state of grace.
Okay.
The congregants, to be prepared to celebrate the Eucharist and to get them into that frame of mind. Too many times I've been to a church where it's just, there's the chattering is going on before, and then all of a sudden the cantor stands up and sings hymn number, whatever it is, and he starts singing, right? Well, I think the prelude is very, we need Bruce, and then we have the Mass, and then at the end, the benediction with the choir, and then a rousing postlude, just to send the people out on a good note, But I think we have a good formula here for providing good liturgy. And a big part of that is what you do by bringing them down into that state of grace to get them prepared to... Now, here's another thing about the applause. And a lot of people applaud hereafter because the choir, they do good and they like and this and that.
Oh, and you too.
I think the people are just showing their appreciation. You get some clergy that are like, oh, you shouldn't clap in church, blah, blah, blah. I've got no use for that kind of talk. Because this is 2025. Right. People are going to do what they're going to do. So if you want to keep turning the people away, just tell them, no applause in church and carry that holier than thou attitude. Yeah. I have no place for that. Because, when we announce Bishop's birthday or something like that, we always applaud, give a show of appreciation. Exactly. With the decorators at Christmas and Easter, the servers, the lectors, everybody that makes it happen, we all show our appreciation for it. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. So, I mean, I have no use for that kind of, because especially once the closing blessing, the final blessing, Mass is done.
Right.
Then it's postlude music. So what's the big deal?
People want to show. What do you think about when you give your little bow, sort of? You turn around, and thank
I just
people.
give a little thank
you. What about
you.
if I do it beside you? Because I did the prelude about an hour and a quarter before.
You could share sure. Well, they're clapping for everybody in the choir. You could just take part in that.
I want to do a bow.
You could just pretend that it's all for you. You can just take a bow. Wow. Yeah.
I want to be recognized. Respect.
Once again, that's your generation, you see. It's needy and...
I only got so many years, Joe. You said that I need 30 years. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, it'll happen. It's already happening.
It'll be 103.
Yeah,
They'll have to poke me to keep me awake.
But you can certainly take the bow for me if you want to be my surrogate. You can, you can take the bow.
They'll be looking at you, Joe, not me. All right. Now, here's another hard question.
All right.
As we all know, church attendance is down in a lot of churches. And other churches have actually closed. Sometimes two denominations meet in the same church.
You're absolutely right.
Catholic and Protestant.
That's right.
Different
share
times.
Church. That's right. Yep.
Lion's Head has that. I mean, I'm just amazed. But anyway, the point is like, what do you think about all this? Like, what's the future of the church?
Well, I think the pandemic changed a lot. A lot of those Protestant churches shut down for a long time.
Yeah.
Some of them shut down for about 2 years and just had online.
I know.
If you shut down for that long, you're not getting them back.
No.
I think what our successful formula was is what the province and the government would allow.
Yes.
Anytime they allowed us to be open and with their guidelines for
Yeah.
occupancy, we did it. And we did it smart and we did it successfully. And with a church this size especially, we did not have any outbreak type thing that happened. We followed the law, we followed the rules, and I think by having the people, I remember that first time we were allowed back in after like 2 or 3 months, they were lined up outside a half an hour before a Monday morning mass
Right.
to come in because they hadn't been in.
Oh, okay.
And I think that was the key, to have them in. And also the Catholic Church, we seem to have grown a lot, like the congregation. We're sitting floating around 3,000 families in this parish right now.
Wow.
And you see it's full on Sunday,
Yes.
you know. And
Well, they fly in to hear me.
just like in the debate. If you haven't seen the debate, the organist debate, check it out, link up the
Oh,
corner there.
I meet people at the door and they ask me, like, are you playing today or just Joe?
And if it's just me, then they take off. They're not interested, right?
Oh, exactly.
Yeah. I found that.
Well, I mean, like, it is what it is. People flying in from all over the
I
world.
think your caregiver is here. We'll just keep them handy there.
Oh, okay.
But the Catholic Church has by agreeing to disagree on a lot of things, we've stayed consistent
Okay.
with our teachings and with our beliefs and everything like that. And we haven't flip-flopped around a whole lot at all. And we're slowly getting, you know, we have permanent deacons now.
Okay.
We're ordaining Anglican ministers over.
Yes.
That, and some of them are family men that are married, right? So, but they're coming over, and it's been a great help to you know, with a shortage of the priests and things like that. So, the roles are expanding more and more, and I can't see anything but success continuing as long as we stay on the same path and continue to be consistent. That's the key.
Okay.
Yeah, and not radical or anything like that.
No. Okay, this question is likely the hardest question of the whole interview. So, like, I spent 3 years in seminary, so I like theology and philosophy and so forth. But I have friends that say God is everywhere. God is in nature. You don't need to go to church. And I have other friends that say, do unto others, like they know this message, they've heard it. Do unto others as they do unto you. Well, or it's something like that anyway. But, you know, they're trying to be good people, and they don't need to go to church. What's your response to those people?
I'd say good for you for having at least that understanding of you can talk to God on your own time.
Yes.
I would say, have you ever tried coming in here through the week just to sit for a little bit and be quiet and have a nice, to sit in here through the daylight with the sun coming in through these windows and just, there's a chance to talk to God. You're not necessarily coming to Mass, but you're just coming in and sharing His house. He's sharing His house with you. Why not sit and be reflective in here and give it a try?
Yeah.
You don't have to be like fanatical and be here for like 5 times a week or anything like that. But anybody that says, you know, I got my own faith life, I got my own prayer life or anything like that, that's great. I think that's fantastic.
Right.
But you know what? Come and try it out. Just sit through, if you know, especially if you're having a rough time.
Right.
Come and sit and just take in the space, take in the atmosphere. Right. I guarantee you will leave with a different opinion.
Right.
And that might be enough to just change your opinion of, I might go to Christmas at Christmas and Easter or something like that and try it. That's how it starts, you know. Right. The big crowds are at Christmas and Easter.
It started with me. Before I even knew you, I would come to Mass and I didn't really identify with the Mass much, so I brought a book. But I always made sure it was a book that the people in the pew behind me wouldn't be offended by. So I brought a book on Abraham. And I would mark it, and, you know, I actually had some good thoughts as a result of that. But I had a place. At home, I'd have every distraction in the world. But here, such a beautiful place. It's peaceful. There's history, there's architecture, and you can actually think about life, what you want to do with your life, and and think about more important things.
See, you'd be a good testament to that whole thing that I just said, just through that story, that personal life experience there. Because now, look, now you're a part of the goings on here all the time, right? And from your religious background, which was,
Well, it's everything.
yeah, pretty much. We won't. Yeah, you don't want to know. But anyhow, it's drawing you in. You're learning more about it. You're appreciating it more. You're understanding it more.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And it worked for you.
Yeah.
And for somebody that's actually been to seminary and got, you know, your Master's of Divinity and things like that, that's a pretty cool accomplishment. I think that this space that we're in has done for you.
My only complaint is that when the service starts, or I guess you call it the Mass, I try to correct myself and call it the Mass. The choir stands, and we do this gradual. Then we do a hymn. It's like we never get to sit down. Like there's so many things the choir does. Like there must be 4 or 5 things. I'm ready to sit down, and the men behind me, they're like, no, not yet.
It's a sacramental church. There's a lot of music that happens in this. It's not your typical Protestant service with 4 hymns and a doxology and call it a day. No, we've got service music. We've got sung responsorial psalm, all the service music in the middle, the gradual at the beginning, the postlude at the end, meditation to communion. There's so much music, which actually makes it so much more interesting.
Yes.
You know, rather than just a minister getting up and there's nothing wrong with this. Don't get me wrong. Especially if it's a good ministry, you get my attention forever with a good speaker or with anything.
Right.
But you know, if you have like a 20 or 30-minute sermon, and then it's bookended by a couple of hymns and a passing of the peace, and maybe once a month they have a communion service. So I'm not sure what's there the other weeks to bring you in. Here you're getting the same experience through the Eucharist every time you're here, whether it's a weekday Mass or a Sunday High Mass. You're getting communion, you're all part of this. The Mass is the same. And it's very, like I say, it's sacramental. So you're receiving communion every time. And
I get better every week, but sometimes the choir members behind me, like I have to ask them, what's next?
but that's okay.
Or sometimes I'll have my binder open with what's next, and I'll want to turn it to somewhere else, and then I get a tap on the shoulder. No, we sing that again. Like, there's so much going on here.
There is a lot going on.
Like, I mean, I have it on my cell phone, but there's so much going on in a Mass, and like you say, it's sort of a dialogue between the priests and the
That's
music
right.
and all of this.
That's exactly what it is.
But
it flows very nicely into a cohesive end product.
Yeah.
I don't like calling it that, but you know, we've just celebrated Eucharist. I think the way the Catholic liturgy is designed, it's pretty good.
I agree. It just takes a while to get used to.
It does.
So now, I want to ask a question about this Junior, our sub-organist.
Oh, Julian.
Yeah, Julian Mason. How old is he anyway?
12?
Yeah, that's about it. He's about 12.
He's your neighbor, actually.
Yeah, I know.
Like your direct, like right next door neighbor.
How's that possible?
Well, I've seen him pushing you on the swing set in the park, but anyhow.
Well, we're
I
both
digress.
same maturity maybe, but anyway, this Julian Mason, he comes here, he forgets his sheet music. He doesn't need sheet music.
He's got it all up here.
Yeah, then he forgets his shoes, and he's out there with his Buffalo Bill socks, banging off those foot pedals so fast.
I can tell you why he can do that.
Why?
Number one, because he's Italian,
Ah,
and his mother gave good cooking when he was growing up.
okay.
Number two, he's got great parents,
Yes, he does.
but he had an even better teacher.
Ah, who was that?
Might have been me.
Oh,
No, I'm
you!
just kidding. I have to say this in all seriousness. There's something about the youth of today,
Yes.
like all these people that I know, like Julian, Alex, Cameron,
Yes, your former students.
former students like Alex.
Yale University, Eastman.
Yeah, McGill, Eastman, Interlochen, Yale.
Wow.
I mean,
And now that Alex, he's playing all over the
all over the
world.
world. Yeah, he's doing that. And Cameron's now down at Eastman. Incredible improviser. Like, I mean, that kid can just.
Don't worry, I know about that.
I don't know what it is with the youth of today. It's something, I clearly missed the boat on that, but they just seem to be at a different.
He plays
It's
a
phenomenal.
piece sometimes. I've heard him here. You know, he takes a lesson after me, and oh, I love that. I just love that. So I go back up to him and ask him, what's the name of that piece?
But I don't know, I just made it up.
He just made it up. There is no piece.
Nope, there's nothing, no music on the rack. And it's just brilliant the way he improvises. And I'm just totally, but I attribute it all back to the same thing: a good upbringing, good parents, supportive parents.
Yes.
I always say, be good to your parents and thank your parents, because they're the ones that made this all happen. You know, we're just facilitators along the way. So
my mother taught me that. She said when I earned my grade 8 piano, that she earned hers too.
she certainly did, listening to those pieces over and over again,
Presto.
supporting. Yeah, presto, horrible rhythm to play in.
Yes, but
Horrible
and then
tempo.
she said, "You'll thank us when you're older."
And
What? At 70 or something?
that's okay. It's just a number.
It's just a number, I guess. Yeah, but you know, like I do thank my mother and father.
Absolutely. And I tell every student that I have, whether it's piano, organ, whatever, thank your parents, because they're the ones, they're here today because of them, you know.
Julian, though, when he plays the postludes, he plays so many notes so fast. How do we even know he's playing the right notes?
Well,
Like I don't know where he's
I can
going.
attest for the most part he is playing all the right notes.
You know,
Yeah. Now, like, we all put extra notes in here and there, you know.
he plays a lot of notes.
There's a thing called the space between the notes.
Oh, now that's my subject.
All right.
All right. I was in Georgetown once, and there was a small orchestra there. And I had the courage to walk up in intermission to the oboist. And I said, this may be a crazy question, but I think that the spaces between the notes are just as important as the notes. She responded, one of the most respected oboists in the world in Belgium just wrote a book about that. So I was not crazy.
No. Absolutely. You have to think of it like a player piano.
Right.
You don't want to be that role that's just churning out the music, like I've just dropped a quarter in the machine and it's coming out. Musicality goes along with the spaces between the notes.
Musicality. You always use that word. What does it mean?
Phrasing, articulation, registration. You know, it's all about lift so that people can breathe, lift so the choir can breathe. Tame your instrument to a level where it's not, you know, too much.
Okay.
I don't play too loud. But it's all part of that. You have to have that space between the notes, which is just as important as the note itself. You have to phrase the music, make it into a sentence, so that sentence turns into a song, which turns into a beautiful melody.
All right.
You can't have a beautiful melody that just rambles on and on and on for 4 or 5 lines, 4 or 5 pages, multiple pages.
Right.
It becomes like, I use this term all the time, like a wet dish rag. It's just like, there's nothing, right? Turn it into something.
Right.
What it's supposed to be. The artist gives us the blank canvas a
Yes.
lot of times. We have to put the color to it.
All right.
You know.
No, I agree with that. Well, you told me once that if I didn't join the choir, I couldn't play the preludes anymore. And have you ever noticed that some of those pieces that we sing are in languages which nobody understands, like Latin and Greek? And like, how's that supposed to work for people? Father Ian, he understands.
Well, he's like a Latin scholar.
He's a Latin scholar,
yeah.
but I mean, like, I don't even know what they mean.
So, a lot of people won't know this day and age, but back until the mid-60s, that was the main language of the Mass. It was Latin, but it's a passionate language, I think. It really, even if you don't necessarily understand what the text is or what the meaning is, the sound of it, the diction of it, of Latin just coming through, sung properly,
Right.
I think it's pretty magical.
Oh.
And it's tradition as well, right? So we're carrying on a little bit of tradition there. So I'd say it's about 75-25 here, more towards English, 25% Latin. But it's all part of the deep tradition that we have in the church. So we keep a lot of that alive.
Okay. Besides myself, who would you say today is the greatest arranger and performer of organ music?
There's a couple that come to mind, but I think probably right now, if I had to say this day and age today, Jonathan Scott is a big one up there for me.
He's great.
He's very good. Him and his brother Tom,
Yes.
they have an excellent channel, Scott Brothers Duo.
Oh, yeah.
He arranges music that just sounds like,
like mine.
Sure.
All right.
And there's a few others that come to mind, like Richard McVeigh, Beauty and Sound. He's got a lovely channel where he puts out, he's got a nice home organ. He invites people to come over and play it.
Really?
Lovely hopped work. I think it's a hopped work that he's got. But him, Daniel Ficari, Paul Fay, there's some great ones out there that have great channels that they put out fresh music all the time, arrangements and things like that. I'd say Jonathan is up at the top. David Briggs is another great one. He's done some wonderful, brilliant arrangements. Like he's taken orchestral scores like Mahler and transcribed it over for organ. It sounds just like the orchestra, and it's just him.
Wow.
And
that's the organ. It can
definitely
sound like
go
an
listen
orchestra.
to some David Briggs and all these guys, Jonathan Scott, because I'm telling you, big inspirations for me. You know, I listen to them all the time, and it never gets old.
No. Well, a couple of last questions here. Like, in a Catholic Mass, you have to improvise a lot. And I've said to you sometimes that for me, and I don't know if this is theologically correct, but your improvisation is one of the most beautiful parts of the Mass. But how can you do it and I can't?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. It's just a matter of sitting down and doing it. When I was younger, just learning, I would come and play all the evening masses here, like Monday to Friday.
Really?
I'd play 7:15 every night. I would come and sit, play those two hymns, and at communion time, you could improvise and build on things while people were receiving communion. And that was my biggest learning tool, was just coming and doing it.
Okay.
You have to sit down and do it. You can do it at home too if you're practicing at home and you have an organ at home, but throw yourself into the liturgy and be a part of it and just do it. Whether you're just starting off with one hymn, that's fine. And then you work yourself up to opening and closing hymn. Good. Improvise in the middle, just on a hymn tune.
So masses are in the morning now instead of the evening, right?
That's right.
So
That's
I'd still be able to watch Coronation Street
Sure could.
and then just come in the morning.
That is the biggest tool to hone our craft, is to immerse yourself into the Mass and be a part of it and play with the people singing. I know it's not as big a crowd as it would be on the weekend, but still, you're providing the same ministry as what would be occurring on the weekend. And that's the only way you're going to get better, is to immerse yourself into it. Just like a choir member, being regular, coming all the time. If you only come every 2 weeks or 2 weeks out of 4, you're not learning to the potential of what you could. So by being regular and consistent, throw yourself right into it.
I'll think about it. Well, one last question here. You're Mr. Tech. Like, we're surrounded here by cameras everywhere and lights and everything. And then when you play the organ, I'm there like, where's your music? And you got your iPad. There's your iPad. One thing on the organ, your iPad. And then I watch you, and is it true that when you wink your eye that it turns to the right to page 2?
It's true. It does.
Well, isn't that a little dangerous? Like, you know, and like me, I'd likely turn 6 pages at once because, you know, I have a little problem with my eye. But, you know, when you wink like that, and they got all these choir members in front of you, and they're not all women, they're men too. Are you not a little worried that somebody might wink back and not understand what you're doing?
Well, as you know, I got Bob right in front of me, right?
Oh.
So if he starts winking back, then... But you're right. The new generation iPad, I had the first or second generation one for a long time, because I got sick of dragging 5, 6 hymn books around, doing all these funerals around. So I would just put it all on my iPad on the program, and then I could have 5 or 6 different hymn books all with me at one time, and I could just call it up whatever I needed. Wow. But then it got full because it wasn't a very big memory. So I got the new one, the new generation one, the M4, whatever, and it's got gesture features. So I can wink my eye to the right, it turns to the right. Wink my left eye, turns back a page. Really? And you can do gestures, whatever you like. But I've really tried to make it fail, and I can't. It's very super reliable, because playing with our hands and feet, we haven't got time sometimes to reach up and swipe a page turn. So just give it a little wink, it turns the page. It's actually pretty, it's a game changer, especially when you can load up everything on there and have it set to go like in a set list.
I better get on to that, because I once had 8 pages and the rack only held, I think, 5.
Yeah.
So I had one on top of the organ on the left, one on top of the organ on the right, 5 pages, and the first one, I only had to play with my right hand, so then I threw it on the floor. There's nowhere to put it.
I remember that, yeah.
So you're saying that I should get onto an iPad?
You should get on the yeah. Like, iPads aren't for everything. I remember some people complained before that, oh, they're so expensive, this, that, and the other. Okay, well, if you can't afford one, you can't afford one. But
right.
I happen to have one just because it makes my life easier for what I have to do in my life, going out and playing, subbing in funerals for other organists that can't be, you know. Right. And even for Sundays, I can put a lot of things just right on there, and it just goes from one to the next, rather than opening books, pulling books, this and that and the other. You know, I can annotate on it and things like that. So, I mean, if that's part of what you can have in your life and it helps, right. I certainly say go for it.
All right. Well, we're near the end, but I have 2 thank yous.
All right.
I want to thank you especially how you list the credits at the end of the masses. You record the masses, you upload the masses, but when it comes to the credits, I was worried you might have those in the wrong order. But you've got my name first. Bruce Taylor, organ scholar. Right at the top. And then, of course, suborganist. Like, I don't know, but every time I hear that word, it reminds me of like of a submarine.
You think of a stanced Volkswagen Bug or whatever they Rabbit or whatever they are.
Piece of
yeah, it's gone though now, so yeah.
But like sub, that's way down, way down.
So I put you first. You know why I put you first?
Why?
Because that scripture passage comes to mind when I see that.
Yeah.
Those who are first shall be last.
Those who shall be first shall be last.
Yeah.
I think the scripture says, the last shall be first.
That's me, because I'm listed last.
Well,
so you walked into your own trap there.
Oh dear, I don't know. I got to review my scriptures. It's been a while since I was in seminary. So the point is that, you know, I want to thank you for that, because like, that's true. My family and friends, when they see that, like, they didn't even know I knew how to play, you know, Mary Had a Little Lamb.
Someday you will. It's okay. You'll be fine.
Well, all right. And so the other one is this. This is more serious. One of my favorite scriptures, and it's one that has guided me in my life. At least I've tried to live up to it at times. I've worked overseas with the International Red Cross and so forth. And it's when Jesus said, I come unto you as a servant. And Joe, that's what I think of, that scripture, when I think of you. You are such a servant around this church for people, not just in the area of music. You just say yes to anything. And I know in between custodians, you're the custodian. So of course I have to be your assistant. And we get behind that Zamboni, and we clean washrooms, we do everything. But the point is like, we pray for everybody here. You lead that prayer after choir. And I just want to thank you for the model that you have set for me to be a servant, because that's what we are.
Well, we're all supposed to be on the same team here, right? And all for the better good. And God knows I've shed my blood here for a number of years. And to me, it's a very special place. And I'm very proud of it, very protective of it, very respectful of it. And that's why I like things to be, if one of us is struggling around here, we all try and pitch in. Right. Whether it be in this church or over in the office or whatever else it might be, but we're all on the same team here for the common good. And for the most part, I see that with all of us around here. And to me, it's very encouraging. And we're all servants called to minister, whether it be through music or for the word or for the priest doing the mass, but we're all servants being called. We just have to follow the call.
Follow the call, I like that.
Follow the call.
Hear the call and follow the call.
That's right.
Well, I just want to thank you, Joe, though, because it's like you've adopted me, and even we're about the same age. But the point is that I have heartfelt thanks to you.
Oh, you're welcome.
You've taught me so much and been so patient and so forth. So, I think we're at the end.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Bruce, for having me on today onto my own show. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, it's your show, but you can't just be the interviewer every time.
No, I know.
So we want to thank everybody too, all the viewers out there. We have viewers from even further away than in Canada now.
That's right.
We had somebody from Rome, Italy.
Yeah, I had a message from Rome, and then we have some people in England, a lot of people from the States, America, Latin America.
All right.
And I'm just so encouraged by all of this. And actually, Bruce and I would really like people sending your questions. If you have questions you'd like to ask us, we'd like to do an episode of, we're going to answer your questions, anything that you have. So comment down below.
That's right.
And
like, and also the subscribe.
Yep.
And then write a comment and send in a question.
yeah, we'd be happy to have an episode just of answering all your questions, what you might have, be curious about.
Right.
You know, and if you want to have Julian in here, we can have him as well. He's very busy now with his new career, with his main career of being an accountant.
You'd have to dress up. He's not wearing those socks.
Oh, I better not be wearing those socks. No. We have classy socks around here.
Exactly.
That's right.
Sometimes we even wear the same socks.
That's right. We have Basilica actually color coordinated socks.
That's right.
Ones, yeah.
Joe, you and I, we know how to do things with class.
Yeah.
So until next time, this is From the Tower.